gonna be a Warrior this season? Is that how
I
you look
am.
at it?
I am. I'm operating as though Stephen Curry is a Golden State Warrior.
Is that a guy you've had? Was he at the top of at number 7 where you were? Was he at the top of the list as far as what you wanted at that position?
Well, he's a guy we targeted, and we were hoping he would be there for us. And, we're extremely pleased about it. We had a list on our board and had him in order as to the guys that we thought would be there, and he was at the top of our list.
Was he an either-or guy? If he hadn't been there, would you have taken Jordan Hill? Had you narrowed your search down to that?
I don't want to embarrass anybody with anything, but yes. That's really where we are. Yeah. And I think Jordan Hill's a very nice player. I think he's going to play a long time in this league, and wish him well. We're going to see a lot of him, obviously, and we really like those two guys. We thought they were people in the area where we were picking that would be outstanding for us.
Larry, hi, Janie with AP. Do you mind touching on the trade that you were able to do? Are you willing to talk a little bit about the trade you did accomplish already?
There's too much echo for me. Can you repeat the question? Oh, okay, the Jamal Crawford trade. Obviously, we can talk about that one. There are several things about that one. We looked at our roster, and when we spoke with most of you earlier this week, we said that we had kind of a glut of guards, 2s and 3s in particular, and that we did want to bust up that glut a little bit. As we looked at trade potential and talked to a lot of teams, and we did explore that kind of a situation involving Jamal Crawford for quite some time. We felt that this was a good situation for us from the standpoint that we had to do two things. We had to manage our cap, and we had to prepare for the 2010 season to where we would be in a healthy position. We were able to accomplish that. We just drafted a point guard, no question about that. So we have AC Law coming in here, and we're going to give him every opportunity to play. We know some about him, but if you look at the history of what happened in Atlanta, he really wasn't used that much. And I think that this guy needs an opportunity to show what he can do, and he may fit in with our system quite nicely. We're anxious to have an opportunity to work with him and see what we have in that regards. In addition to that, Speedy has not played for a couple years, and I do not know exactly what his thinking is because I've spoken with his agent, but I haven't been able to get Speedy on the phone. And so I'm a little bit reluctant to say very much until I talk to Speedy and see how he's feeling and what's going on with him. Does that answer your question enough? I know. Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this is still echoing, but I'm wondering if you think Curry needs to bulk up, put on weight at all, or if you're comfortable with him at that weight.
Almost every rookie who comes into the league needs some time in the weight room and needs to add some kind of strength. And they often think that they're well conditioned, but they've never gone through 82 games. And so I think strength and conditioning is a great issue. He's not, he's not real big, not real bulky anyway. And so if he can add some strength, it's going to help him a great deal. He's light on his feet. He'll get bumped around a little bit. There's no question about that. And there'll be some people that will try to post him up once in a while and try to take advantage of him. So, yes, he needs some strength, and he's going to need conditioning, but he's a guy who loves to play basketball, and I don't see that as a problem. It's just how fast can he get stronger.
Yeah. Chuck Fisher, Comcast Sportsnet. Do you see him as, when you said you targeted him, do you see him as an impact rookie, or is this kind of a wait and see, let's get him in here, get him some conditioning, and then see?
No, I think that Stephen Curry is going to play for us as a rookie. And I don't know exactly how soon, but I think he's definitely going to be a contributor to this basketball team as a rookie. And it may be December, it might be January. It just depends on how quickly things come along for him and how well he adjusts. But he's a guy that's marked for a pro career that's going to last 10 or 12 years, barring injury.
Wade, all the point guards, Curry's got the interesting pedigree with him. His dad, he's been around the league really his whole life. Did that weigh into it, the fact that maybe a kid like this could work in a little sooner than some of the other guys?
It weighs in slightly. There's no question that as we interviewed him in Chicago and spent time with him, that he had a sense about him that says, hey, I belong in the NBA. And he went through all the stuff that's been around NBA basketball. And I think most of those guys that are children of professional athletes, whatever the sport, they look at the thing and think, hey, I belong here. And that's not some kind of a hurdle that most of them have to clear, and it won't be one for Stephen Curry.
Larry, Lowell Cohn, does this mean that Curry is the point guard of the future for the Warriors?
No, it does not. And we'll go into that, and we'll start the season. We'll train him as much as we possibly can to play some as a backup to Monte Ellis, and to play some at the 2 spot. And there may be times when they're on the floor together, of course. But this does not mean that he's been drafted to take over this ball club as our point guard of the future. It can mean that he's going to play an awfully lot of minutes and have a great impact on our future. And you never know where things are going to go in 4 or 5 or 6 years.
Larry, just generally, then not talking specifically, I did ask you earlier this week if you would trade for a pending free agent without a deal. I'll ask you again, would you have to have a deal in place with a pending free agent before you trade for him?
Yeah, we talked about that the other day, and I gave you the answer, if I recall correctly, that would be very difficult for me to do. It's a little bit outside my comfort zone, so to speak, and I would have to consider very deeply what we would need to do with something like that if it were presented to us, and it would be a tough deal. It would be a hard thing for me to get convinced of. I'm not saying I couldn't be, but that would be a difficult thing. I think the other thing that would associate with that would be the asking price. You know, I do think that's part of it too. Assuming that the asking price is going to be pretty darn high on a good player.
Larry, I think Nelly had said that.
Okay.
That he would like Jack to be the shooting guard, at least the starting shooting guard for this season. Do you see that being the case long term with this pick?
I missed part of the question. I'm going to have you answer or ask it again, or try it one more time. Or
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Guys.
I just wanted to ask. I think Nelly had said that Stephen Jackson was going to. He would like to have Stephen Jackson as a 2 guard, at least to start the season. Do you see that still being the case long term with this pick?
Well, Nelly moves guys around quite a bit. Right now, we have, going into training camp, we have Stephen Jackson penciled in as a 2 guard, and yet he's going to play all over the floor. There will be times when he may play some 3. I think ideally we'd like to have him at the 2, and yet he does a pretty good job defending even some inside or interior players once in a while, depending upon their body build. So he might play 2 on offense and 3 or 4 on defense, and there will be times when he'll play 3 on offense as well. But I think we need to work with him some in regards to, he wants to play 45 minutes a night if he could, and I think we need to look at the possibility that we could cut his minutes down just a little bit and make him a little bit better basketball player. He's not going to like that very much, and he always wants to be on the floor all the time. But I think he can swing back and forth between 2 and 3, and right now the plan is for him to play a lot of time at the 2 position. When that happens, though, we also have some other situations. There'll be some guys that will want to get on the floor. And you've got wing players like Azubuike and Morrow that are going to work hard enough, and they're going to deserve some playing time. And so sometimes there isn't a whole lot of difference in the system as to who plays at 2 or who plays at 3.
Larry, you said you had a glut at 2 with Crawford. Get him out the way. Now you add another guy who can play some 2. Where does that leave the likes of Morrow and Bellinelli and maybe even C.J. Watson, who play a little time at 2?
I think we need to we have been looking at that seriously. And I would like to add another player to this team. I've said that. I think that's important to us. And so as we go through the summer and as we continue to work, it's possible that we can alleviate that position a little bit. We did, of course, trade Crawford, but then we took back Steph Curry. So in essence, you could almost say, well, maybe you're right back where you were. And I understand your point. We look at that a little bit that way as well.
You guys obviously mentioned playmaking as a need with Curry, but defense and rebounding are also needs. Do you see a way to address that? Are those needs going to be addressed this summer?
Those needs certainly are things that we're looking at right now. I think as we went into this thing, and I talked with you gentlemen the other day and ladies, we talked about ones, point guards, and 4s a great deal. And in essence, we've taken a guy who fills a point guard need. So now what's your next need? It's to go find a guy that could play some around the basket. Maybe he's a 4, maybe he's a 4 who plays some 5, or a 4 who plays some 3. Something like that. And I think that would help us a great deal if we could get a little bit more rebounding out of it. And also, it would help us some if we had a little bit better passing skills than those guys. I know you don't get a lot of hype if you're a guy who's a pretty good passer unless you're a point guard. But if we had a safe passer to add to this team, it would really help us quite a bit.
Larry, you've seen both of them. It's me here. You've seen both Morrow and Curry. Who's the better shooter, and what would those guys be like together?
It's a little bit difficult to predict exactly how Curry's going to shoot the ball, other than that he's going to be a good shooter. Morrow's a great shooter, and right now Morrow's a better shooter than almost anybody in the league. And so I see him as ahead of Curry in that regard. But Curry's going to be a heck of a threat also. See, range doesn't seem to be a problem for Steph. I believe he's going to be able to shoot the NBA three-point shot during his rookie year and be effective with it. So I feel like we've got 2 great shooters. I said great. We've got a great shooter in Morrow. We've got a good shooter in Curry who has the potential to become a great shooter. I do think that those guys can play together. And our issue is going to be how to get as many good ball handlers on the floor as we can, how many shooters on the floor as we can, as well as cover our rebound situation. So we'll go through a lot of players in terms of different combinations and so forth during the year. I think it's going to be an exciting brand of basketball, and I think we are going to be improved.
Larry, I think that you said that you went to scout Curry a couple times. Where did you see him, and what did you learn just from watching him?
Well, I think the most prominent of those games was at Indianapolis. There was a doubleheader that was played there, and I went to Indianapolis because it wasn't a home game for Purdue. It was a doubleheader at Conseco, and I knew Purdue defensively would just get all over him and just give him all kinds of headaches. And I wanted to see how he would respond in a situation that way. And they did. They did exactly that. If you look up the box scores on that game, he really had a tough time. Now, he didn't have a lot of support on his team, but in spite of all the frustration of having played through a very difficult game, he kept making the right play. He'd bring the ball up the court. He could make a good pass, which he did. He'd make a long pass or a short pass. Sometimes they didn't catch it. Sometimes they didn't finish it if they did catch it. And I wanted to see him in the most frustrating of circumstances. And it ended up being that that's what it was. Now, if you go back through his other games, there are a number of games that you can watch where it wasn't at all frustrating for him. The other one, the Madison Square Garden game that was on TV early in the season, actually did not play very well the first 3 quarters of the game, and they just lit it up at the end. So he's an explosive scorer. I think he will be a more consistent shooter at the next level. And I think he's just going to get up a whole lot of shots. He's going to get more and more consistent as his career goes along. All right. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming out. We'll see you again. Yeah. No, Tim, my take on that was that we knew last winter that we didn't have a second-round pick. And so what I did, we tried to take the best player out of the D-League that we could take in Jamario Davidson and virtually replace our second-round pick with that guy. And we felt that he would be better than anybody we were going to draft in the second round that we knew about at that time. And being that we are such a young team, I really don't want to go get another really young player. We've got enough youth on our ball club, and so I won't be coming back out here and telling you we acquired a second-round pick and you don't have to stay till that's over.